Now, I said I'd be looking out for a few games that haven't been on sale for either a long time or ones that never go on sale, and this list is the one for you. I do apologise if your backlog is a little bit swollen, then this isn't going to be very fun for you. It's not every day you use the word swollen. I like it, I'm going with it. Congratulations to the winner of our free game. Your name's on the screen right now. If you want to win a game, you literally just leave your normal comments and I choose someone. Last week's winner won a copy of Berserk Boy. I'll have a look in the archive and see what we got for this week. Alright, what are the best games on sale? Oh, and don't pay full price for your eShop credit. Use SwitchUp.gg where you'll get 5% in cashback whenever you make a purchase, and we get the tiniest of little kickbacks from Nintendo. Alright, what are the best games on sale? Well, my name's Mark Walker. Welcome back to SwitchUp. Now let's find out. Let's start off then with Kingdom Come Deliverance. If you've not seen, they are actually releasing a sequel to this one on a lot of other platforms, but there's no word at the moment for the Switch. This one's down to its cheapest ever price, it's 40% off, and what you're getting for that is basically a medieval hero simulator featuring a very unhero-like hero called Henry of Skalitz. It's full of small little details and one of the best natural forest environments I think I've ever seen. In fact, the environments in general, things like the streams, the fields that you can walk through, they look incredibly good on Switch. I think this runs on a heavily modified CryEngine, and it's work like this that gives me so much hope for what we're going to see on next-gen hardware. I do kind of use next-gen for Nintendo in like air quotes, because let's be honest, it's going to be about the power of a PS4, and I'm quite happy with that when you look at some of the games they managed to get on that platform. This Royal Edition of Kingdom Come Deliverance comes with all of the DLC, those add entirely new story segments, and the sale for that goes on until September the 3rd. Yesterday I made a video of the best RPGs on Switch that were under 20 hours, and I didn't actually remember this one. It's Young Souls, which we have reviewed, and it was really good. It also has multiplayer for those that don't like to play alone, but it's a side-scrolling RPG where you play as Jen and Tristan, and it has almost like a beat-em-up combat mechanic. There's loads of customization, all the looty goodness you'd expect from an RPG, and I do like it when we see these hybrids, so I guess it's a beat-em-up RPG. Definitely a bit of a hidden gem for some, and it clocks in at around about the 10-hour mark. So yeah, it would have been perfect for that list. Now I believe there is a physical of this one available as well if that's the avenue you'd rather go, but it's usually a little bit more expensive. This match is the cheapest it's ever been. It's Young Souls, 55% off until September the 8th. Not the nicest title for a game next, it's ugly. I mean, the title's not ugly, I mean it is ugly, but you know what I'm saying. It's £5.98, 66% off, and it's like a Twisted Grimm's fairy tale adventure game. There's a bit of puzzling in there, but the kicker in terms of its unique mechanics is basically what amounts to a mirror. So you mirror yourself and then you have to solve puzzles. We've actually seen similar mechanics used in other games to good effect, but it does work really well here, and it gives you that feeling of, you know, when you feel like you're much more intelligent than you probably are, and you're solving these puzzles and thinking that no one else would ever do it that way. It's that kind of feeling when you're playing this. Very rewarding, I guess. Also, after completing the game, you get the chance to go back and complete alternative rooms to unlock different endings, so that's cool. Not the longest, about 6 hours, but certainly the cheapest it's ever been by, well, a country mile. It's £5.98, 66% off until September the 15th. I can definitely hear and feel some backlogs creaking in this episode already. We've got Outward Definitive Edition that's now down to its cheapest price at 40% off. This review did really well on the channel actually. I think there's a lot of people like myself that love that old school RPG feel with a bit of a twist. The twist here is that it's got some heavy survival mechanics built into it. So sometimes when you're traversing across the land, it might be snowy and freezing, and you need to really think about building fires, staying warm, obviously eating and then carrying on your journey. But there are random things that can happen, like you'll get attacked by bandits, and it's not all just like medieval combat. You've also got magics, but to unlock those is a little more involved than in most RPGs. Like there's this essentially like a volcano, like the one at the Lord of the Rings where they throw the ring in. You can go up there and earn the power, or there's another city in this version because it has the DLC where you can unlock magic. A game where you'll find yourself looking through forums and reading guides on the best ways to use certain skills. I love that. That just means it's deep. And sure, it's a little janky, the movement's a little clunky, it has that indie clunk to it that you'll so often see when they try and make these vast worlds, but then it also manages to capture something that a lot of the AAA games just miss out on, and that's a unique feeling of fun. Great game. Bit annoying when you sleep on your bedroll and get attacked by wolves in the night, but otherwise, a very enjoyable experience. Outward Definitive Edition is cheapest ever price at just £19.19. That sale goes on until September the 3rd. Tales of Kenzera, Zao, worried me when it came out. I mean, it followed Prince of Persia, which I have to say is also on sale, so if you're interested in that, it is a better game than this. But I think this one finally has hit a price that makes it a lot more enticing for most people. Now this one's down to £12.59, that's the cheapest it's been, it's 30% off, and it starts out with a grieving child reading the story of their father, and that story is centered around the lands of Kenzera, where you play as a character called Zao, who is a young shaman, and he's making a barjan with the god of death. Now all of that sounds pretty standard, doesn't it? It's like just word soup for every game ever. But where this one went a little bit beyond the average was that it managed to actually capture the emotions that that child will be experiencing reading the stories. And then it goes a bit further, and obviously I don't want to spoil it, but it goes on to be far more than the sum of its parts, in my opinion. And they are slightly janky looking parts, even though they've patched it a couple of times, it's a little bit blurry. The movement is nice, it is 30 FPS on Switch, which again compared to Prince of Persia just feels a little bit lackluster. But the sun and moon mechanics, the quick switching, and some of the combat is actually quite nice. Tales of Kenzera Zao, it was founded by, I think it was one of the actors from the Assassin's Creed games. Is it Abu Bakr Salim? I probably pronounced that wrong. But for a first outing into this genre, yeah, it's decent. That sale goes on until September the 8th. Not a huge deal to say about the Serious Sam collection. They are a series of old school shooters. First person games with ridiculous creatures running and screaming at you, and you doing everything in your power to try and survive. The thing is, it's just £4 at the moment. That's a ridiculous price. It's down 85% until September the 8th. For your money, you're getting Serious Sam HD, the first encounter, the second encounter, Serious Sam 3, which also includes the Legend of the Beast and Jewel of the Nile expansion packs. What you aren't getting is Serious Sam 4, obviously, but by the way that the third game runs, you can see why they didn't do that. 1 and 2 though are a good deal of fun, and they have co-op play as well. We do have a full review of this series, this pack actually, so if you want to go check that out, that'll give you all the information that you need. There's online play here as well, a really good pack for that price. That sale goes on until September the 8th. Crypt Custodian is a Metroidvania that's just come out, and it's by Kyle Thompson. Now he created another Metroidvania that I loved called Islets. And the guy's obviously got some serious talent. Like, there's just a confidence in everything he does. You can see by the animations, the way this game is designed, it does not look like the second game of a relatively new developer. But here you're playing as Pluto, who is a cat that right at the start dies. He's in the afterlife, and he's got a broom. Most of the experience takes place surrounding that palace in its grounds. You're doing boss fights, puzzles, loads of combat. It's just clever. It's a cleverly designed game. It feels so smooth, and one of those where you're playing in handheld, you really realise the benefits, I guess, to a portable system. It just feels good playing that way. Crypt Custodian, that sale at 15% off goes on until September the 10th. Ember Knights is down to its cheapest price at £3.59. If you enjoy things like Hades and you're looking for one that has multiplayer, this is a great shout. You can play with up to 4 people through the entire game, trying to defeat some bonkers sorcerer. There are 6 different weapon types that also have modifications that you can apply to them. 17 different skills, 85 relics, all the good stuff that you'd expect. But each class plays really differently. And of course, the most important thing is there's an absolute ton of different monster types, different bosses to work through. It does lag a little bit in the snowy areas, I have to say, but elsewhere it's generally 60 FPS. And a good alternate pick to this, although not actually in my list, is Doomsday Hunters, which is down to its cheapest price. That's £7.64, and that's actually had a massive expansion. I think it's a paid DLC actually, but yeah, really good game. Both excellent choices. Ember Knights though at £3.59, 80% off. That sale goes on until September the 8th. Penny's Big Breakaway is essentially the 3D Sonic game that we haven't had. Now I know you're thinking, hang on Mark, we have had 3D Sonic. Yeah, we have, but in my opinion it hasn't really worked the way that you would think it would in terms of the flow, the pacing, and overall the world design. But Penny's Big Breakaway fixes almost all of that. It's so well designed, it's very succinct. The stages are really cleverly designed as well, and then there's little extra things in there like small little mini games, but also side quests of sorts that you can complete while moving through the stages, like fetching certain items for the NPCs. Sections that are on rails that see you switching and rolling around, swinging from things, and then at the end of each stage you've got what amounts to their version of releasing the animals, where you perform this little dance. It's had a patch so that it can go up to 60 FPS. That does dip down every now and then, but it's still much better than at launch. And at 40% off, £14.99, that's going to put itself to the top of some people's lists. That sale goes on until September the 8th. Okay, a little hidden gem this week then would be a pickup I made called Wildfire. I hadn't seen it before, hadn't heard of it, but you've essentially got to use your abilities to start fires. But not just that, because that would literally just be like Pyromania, the game. You can freeze things, you can move the ground around, and you use those skills in stealth. So this isn't like a Metroidvania, this is a 2D stealth game, the aim of which sees you trying to take back your home and rescue captive villagers. What I didn't realise is you can actually get someone along for the ride in local co-op, and it really changes up, I'm sure you can imagine, the feeling of the game, because in a stealth game you really do rely on yourself to remain concealed, and it's exponentially more tricky when you've got someone else running around, especially if they are 8 years old. Wildfire, the little hidden gem, 60% off, that's the cheapest it's ever been, until September the 8th. Okay, the bundle of the week then. I saw the Child of Light and Valiant Hearts The Great War bundle at 75% off, which I think takes it to £6.19. Yeah, that's its cheapest price ever. Now, Wild at Hearts I first played back on mobile, but it is really good and holds up well on Switch. As the title suggests, it's in the Great War and it's grim. It doesn't glorify the violence, but it does still manage to create an entertaining experience whilst hitting home about the realities of how bad that situation was. Child of Light, on the other hand, is a very different game, more of a fantasy as you join Aurora on her journey to save her father. Both really good and a great little bundle at that price. The sale for that bundle goes on until September the 8th. Alright, then we've got a few Savaloys, the very, very cheap games that are like those guilty pleasure treats you enjoy, like your Fed Cook, your Savaloys, your Costco hot dogs, and my recent favourite at Gamescom, the Currywurst, which I managed to get for €5, which I thought was very reasonable. The first one, you've got Figment, 94% off at £1.07. A ridiculous price for an enjoyable fantasy adventure that takes place in the mind of the character. Then you've got Torchlight 2, a Diablo-like experience, but this one has a little unicorn that you can have as a pet. That one's 80% off, down to £3.59. Raiden 4X Makito, that's down 90%, £2.99. It's a shmup. Very precise game, feels fantastic, and for that price, if you're getting into the genre like I am, it's an easy pickup. And then finally, Bite the Bullet. This is like a roguelite run and gun, but the twist is, it has some RPG shooting mechanics, but you have to eat the enemies. As well as almost everything else. By doing that, you can then craft new weapons, unlock new abilities and special attacks. It's absolutely bonkers. There are 4 different characters in there, and yep, it has co-op play if you'd rather play with a friend. The weird detail that the developers put into this is that every single enemy has their own nutritional information, and your body type will actually change based on what you eat, as I'm sure you would expect. A ludicrous Savaloy Barjan there, one that I think is going to tickle some backlogs. So that's it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you missed out Short RPGs video the other day, go check it out. I'll pop a link in the description. A thanks to all of you that enjoy the content, to our Patreons, our members. We've had a couple of new members actually. I'll try and make sure they're in this video. Jared, update that end screen. Make it so. I believe in you. But all that's left to say is, for all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys. See ya!